You know, Amazon moves an absolutely mind-boggling amount of stuff around the world every single day. And at the very heart of that massive logistical empire, it's not just people anymore. It's a huge, and I mean huge, army of robots. They're kind of the secret heroes behind that one-day shipping we all know, but their story is a lot more complicated than you'd think.
So, just look at this thing. It's a total marvel of engineering, right? It's a key piece of a system that has completely changed the way we all shop. But it also brings up a really important question, and that's what we're going to get into here. What's the real cost of all this incredible efficiency?
All right, let's get into it. To really understand Amazon's robot revolution, we've got to rewind the clock to one single, game-changing moment back in 2012. It was a massive bet, one that would pretty much change logistics forever.
So this right here, this is the core problem Amazon was trying to fix. In a classic warehouse, workers would spend a crazy amount of their day just walking, sometimes miles, just to find stuff on shelves. It was slow, it was inefficient. The robotic model, it flips that whole idea on its head. Instead of people walking to the shelves, the robots bring the shelves, these little pods, directly to the people. And that one simple change meant they could cram 40% more stuff into the exact same warehouse space.
And here's exactly how they pulled it off. In 2012, they straight up bought a robotics company called Kiva Systems. By 2014, just 2 years later, which is super fast, they had their first fully robotic warehouse up and running. And then in 2015, they made the real genius move. They took Kiva's technology completely off the market for everybody else, rebranded it as Amazon Robotics, and boom. What used to be available to anyone was suddenly Amazon's exclusive, powerful, secret weapon. Let's just sit with this number for a second. $775 million. At that time, it was one of the biggest purchases Amazon had ever made. This wasn't just them buying some neat tech. No, this was a giant flashing sign that Amazon believed automation was the absolute future of its entire business.
But you know, those little orange robots, they were only half the story. The real magic, the true game changer, was in the software. It was this incredibly complex algorithm that was telling every single robot exactly where to go and when.
Okay, so to get what the software was doing, you need to understand this one key term, pylon. It's actually pretty simple. It's just how many different items can a worker grab from a single pod when a robot brings it to them. See, the higher the pylon, the fewer trips the robots have to make, and the more efficient the whole warehouse gets. Getting that number as high as possible became the total obsession for Amazon's engineers.
So how'd they do it? With this brilliant 4-step algorithm that runs over 1,000 times a day. Think of it like a super high-speed game of logistical chess. First, the system figures out what can even be picked right now. Then, it strategically picks the absolute fewest number of pods that have the most needed items. It creates a rough draft of a plan, and then in the final step, it optimizes the whole thing and sends the final marching orders out to the robots. And the results from this software, they were just staggering. Get this, the new algorithm cut down the distance the robots had to travel for every single item by 62%. That is a massive, massive drop in wasted time and energy.
And hey, if your robots are traveling less, well, it means you don't need as many of them, right? This single software tweak meant they could get the exact same amount of work done with 31% fewer robots in every warehouse. And what does needing fewer robots actually mean? Cold, hard cash. This one change to the algorithm saved the company an estimated $500 million. I mean, from every possible angle, it was a home run, a huge technological and financial win. But there was another set of numbers that, well, they weren't looking quite so good.
Because while all the efficiency numbers were skyrocketing, another set of numbers, the ones about the actual human beings working in these warehouses, was telling a totally different and much more troubling story.
The data here is pretty stark. According to a 2021 analysis of official OSHA logs, the rate of serious injuries, and that means injuries that force someone to take time off or get put on light duty, was 6.8 for every 100 workers at Amazon. For comparison, the rate at non-Amazon warehouses was 3.3. That's more than double.
Let me put it another way for you. In 2021, Amazon employed about 1/3 of all warehouse workers in the U.S., but they were responsible for nearly half of all the serious injuries in the entire industry. 1/3 of the workers, 1/2 of the injuries. Now, this might be the most surprising number of all. You'd think that bringing in robots would make the work safer, right? I mean, that makes sense. But the data actually shows the exact opposite.
In 2021, the robotic warehouses had a serious injury rate that was 28% higher than the old-school, non-robotic ones. So, what is going on here?
The answer, in one word, is pace. The robots don't just bring the shelves, they set a relentless, punishing speed of work. This quote says it all. The expected productivity for a person can jump from maybe 100 items an hour to as many as 400. The very system that's so incredibly efficient for the machines puts a huge amount of pressure and physical strain on their human coworkers.
And all of this leads to this fundamental conflict that's playing out as we speak. It's a debate between what Amazon says it wants to do in the future and what safety regulators are actually finding on the ground today.
So on one side, you have Amazon's official stance. They say they're innovating to make work safer and that they're investing millions to do it. But then on the other side, you have the actual findings from regulators like Washington State's OSHA. They've flat out said Amazon's very high pace of work is injuring workers. They even issued what are called willful violations. That's the most serious kind you can get for what they called plain indifference to employees' safety.
And this is really what it all boils down to. On one hand, you have this clean, sleek, efficient promise of technology. And on the other, you have the gritty, physical reality and the human toll of trying to keep up inside that high-speed system.
Now, to be fair, Amazon is still innovating. They're developing new systems like Blue Jay, which is a robot with multiple arms designed to do some of the reaching and lifting for employees, and Project Luna, an AI that's supposed to help managers spot problems before they happen. And the stated goal for all of this stuff is to create a safer workspace.
Which really just brings us right back to where we started, this core, unresolved conflict between machine-driven efficiency and human well-being. Look, there are really two truths here, and they're both happening at the same time. This system is without a doubt a marvel of productivity. It's an engineering masterpiece. It's what makes our modern world of instant shopping possible. But at the same time, the data we're seeing from safety regulators and worker reports suggests that this incredible efficiency might be coming at a real, physical price for the people who have to work inside the machine.
And that leaves us with this really fundamental question. And it's not just about Amazon. It's about the future of work for all of us. As people and these incredibly smart, powerful algorithms start working closer and closer together, who or what should get to set the pace?